Afghan women. They are portrayed as one of the world's most oppressed groups. Pictured in a somber demeanor amongst the shadows in their burqas, they shine bright against the dry deserts of Afghanistan. These photos appear in periodicals, magazines, and websites around the world. They elicit an emotional response. But what are their implications? What do they suggest to Americans, and what purpose do they hold within the international community? Most commonly, such photographs tell us that Afghan women are victims of their societies and religions, and that they are in need of the First World's support. In order to better understand the politics of representation, I refer to a transnational feminist framework. A transnational feminist framework acknowledges linkages between nations, the complexity of varying female cultural desires, and allows for self-reflexivity. After the attacks on September 11th, President Bush used the plight of Afghan women as justification for the occupation of Afghanistan and the dismantling of the Taliban. On March 8, 2002, Afghan women celebrated International Women's Day for the first time in 11 years. First Lady Laura Bush remarked on the celebration from New York City, saying, "Today, on International Women's Day, we affirm our mission to protect human rights for women in Afghanistan and around the world. We affirm our support of all Afghans as they recover from war and injustice." The UN declared this time as a new beginning for Afghan women and a time of hope. This year, members of the Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan, known as RAWA, released a statement on International Women's Day stating, "After the U.S. and allies invaded Afghanistan 7 years ago, they misleadingly claimed of bringing peace and democracy and liberating Afghan women from the bleeding fetters of the Taliban. In reality, Afghan women are still burning voraciously in the inferno of fundamentalism." Despite past failed attempts of bringing support to Afghan women, many U.S. feminist organizations are still fighting for their rights today. The feminist majority is currently working to pass the Afghan Empowerment Act. If passed, this act will bring $90 million of aid and programming to Afghan women. However, this bill has not progressed in Congress since 2007. It is imperative that U.S. feminist organizations acknowledge the existence of other feminist movements across the globe, particularly amongst the Third World. If desired, first and third world countries may allow partnership in advocacy. However, it's important to note that such partnerships are not always desired nor successful. The burqa worn by Afghan women was once made mandatory and enforced by the Taliban. While the Taliban is no longer in power today, many Afghan women continue to wear it out of cultural tradition. It is still viewed as a symbol of enclosure, suffocation, and oppression by many Americans. A transnational feminist perspective acknowledges the differing cultural desires amongst women and does not aim to refashion the traditions valued by women of the Afghan or Muslim culture. Thus, the burqa should not be viewed as a symbol of oppression unless the woman is being forced against her will to wear it. In considering a transnational perspective, it is vital to be self-reflexive of one's own oppressive cultural traditions before pointing the finger at another's. Western culture is oppressive in its own ways, perpetuating hypersexualized values that preserve a culture of violence against women. Just as Afghan women are enclosed, American women are exposed. The cultural traditions of American society are similarly oppressive. Think of the multi-million-dollar diet industry, beauty industry, or cosmetic surgery industry. In understanding the historical and cultural contexts between nations, transnationalism offers a new perspective to advocacy. Transnational feminism asks us to acknowledge the struggles of Afghan women and offering them support, rather than using our power to portray them as victims in need of salvation. In turn, 1 first world's interests in human rights should aim higher than a mere economic or political agenda.